fucking amazing! Well, now that we got that out of the way, it's time to get into my discussion about the May pay-per-views of 2012. TNA is doing Sacrifice, which is happening this Sunday, and WWE is doing Over the Limit, which is happening next Sunday. And man, it's amazing how quickly these things get shelved out. It feels like we just had WrestleMania, and we've had 4 pay-per-views since then. So, Lockdown, Extreme Rules, I mean, those feel like they happened last week. And it's like, wow, we're already coming up on the May batch. It's kind of crazy. And Over the Limit, by the time it's done, it's only going to have 3 weeks of build-up. But what can you do? But I'm going to start with Sacrifice, since that one's happening this Sunday. And the card is more complete at this point. Although there are 4 matches for Over the Limit that I could talk about. But with Sacrifice, and both pay-per-views actually, they really are victims of the once-a-month pay-per-view format that both companies have just subscribed themselves to. And they're just doing things just to do them, without a whole lot of great storyline or planning put into them. They're just doing these matches because they feel like they have to. Gail Kim versus Brooke Tessmacher for the Knockouts title. By the way, whoever gave Brooke that name, congratulations. You watched the first Superman movie. Hooray for you. You're creative. And by creative, I mean completely uncreative. But, yeah, they're doing this match. Gail had nobody else to work with, but they feel like they have to have a title match. So they rushed Brooke to this spot. Gave her a bunch of non-title victories, and it's just a rushed 1-month thing that they did. And, Gail's probably not going to lose the belt, so why even bother? The tag title match is even worse. Daniels and Kazarian. How many teams have they beat? As far as I know, they've never won any matches, but they're the number 1 contenders for the tag titles because they beat up Joe and Magnus after a match. And in today's modern wrestling world, that's enough to get you a title shot. Whatever. AJ Styles versus Kurt Angle. They're doing this match as a rematch from Impact and the 12 other matches that they've had. But again, there's no story put into this, as it's obvious that they're just holding AJ over until his match with Daniels at Slammiversary, which I pray to God is the last match. I mean, they are actually having to say that AJ had an affair with Dixie Carter just to stretch this feud out even further. It's like, I don't care anymore about AJ and fucking Daniels. It really is TNA's equivalent to Cena and Orton in the sense that they've done it so many times that I just do not give a fuck. And I feel like, it's like, wow, I'm going to be seeing this match 10 years from now, aren't I? But, yeah, there's that. So, again, not a bad match. I mean, Angle and AJ, they can work well together, and they'll probably have a good match. But it's, there's no real purpose behind it. It's just doing it just to do it. And to hold AJ over until they give a payoff to something that they feel is bigger. Then there's Jeff Hardy versus Mr. Anderson, which I have absolutely no idea why these two are feuding. From a storyline perspective, like on the open fight night when they're like, oh, they can't get along and they're fighting with each other. It's like, well, why? I don't understand what the beef is. I guess you could say it's a carryover from last year when they were feuding over the title and Hardy was a heel before he had his meltdown at Victory Road, but they haven't referenced that, so I don't know why they're feuding. It just feels like, it's like, hey, they were the other 2 guys in a contenders match on TV. So let's give them a one-on-one match on pay-per-view. And yeah, they're just doing that. And really the only match on the card that has any kind of planning or interesting build between it, or at the very least a good character clash between the two, is Bully Ray and Austin Aries. I really enjoyed some of their interactions on TV, and I think they could have easily done the match at Lockdown, but they held off and decided to do it here. And it's really the one match that has any kind of intrigue in it for me. I just enjoyed the character clash. As between 2 characters that I didn't have much hope for when they first came. Bully Ray, when Team 3D broke up, I was like, okay, they'll meander around in singles competition. That'll be the end of them. And Aries, I've never really been that high on, but these last 2 runs haven't been that bad for them. Bully Ray really shocked me, and Aries, he's one of the better things in the company. Both guys are 2 of the better things in the company right now. I don't know what that says for the company, but There you go. So yeah, I think those two could have a really good match. They could probably even steal the show just because, again, the character clash is interesting, and it actually does have a level of interest towards it that most of the other matches on the show don't have. And that leads me to the main event, Robert Roode versus Rob Van Dam for the world title, which will be, spoiler alert, Impact's happening tonight, but they're going to make it a ladder match, which doesn't make it any more interesting, really. Again, it's not that it'll be a bad match, and most of the matches on these cards won't be bad. That's not kind of the point here. The point is that the story writing in building these matches has been rather lackluster and rushed. Bobby Roode and Rob Van Dam really don't have a feud. It's just kind of like, well, we have to have a world title match, so that's our match, and that's all the thought they put into it. When they probably could have centered this pay-per-view around establishing a contender for Bobby Roode. Maybe even doing King of the Mountain qualifying matches, because I do have a feeling they're going to do King of the Mountain next month at Slammiversary, because it's the 10th anniversary, so they'll probably want to do that. But yeah, they could have done that instead of just doing a senseless world title match. And the match is senseless because we all know Bobby Roode's not going to lose the title, and if he does, it's stupid. So what's the point? And to really show how weak the story is, last month when they were building to Lockdown, if you take James Storm out of the equation there, the story has no meaning, and it completely throws everything out of whack. If you take Rob Van Dam out of this build-up and you put in AJ Styles or Kurt Angle or Jeff Hardy or Mr. Anderson or Christopher Daniels or Kazarian or even James Storm, and you put them in this exact same build-up the way they've done it, the story would be exactly the same. So, and that's usually the sign of a bad story, when you can just kind of, in your mind, if you can just kind of cut and paste people out of it, and the story wouldn't be changed at all whatsoever. Yeah, that sacrifice, and it really does just scream B pay-per-view, and there's not a whole lot of big stuff happening. Now, will the matches be bad? Probably not, but that's, and that's kind of the point I've always wanted to make with my videos. The matches usually aren't the problem. It's usually how they're set up and how they're built, and that's usually where the problem, and that falls on booking. Now we're getting into Over the Limit, which, like I said, has only 4 matches set up right now, one of which is a Divas title match, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. Until Karma comes back, I'm really not going to spend too much time getting invested in the Divas division, because it's all just kind of the same thing over and over again, and I just don't give a crap. It's, who is it? I don't even know who it is. It's Beth Phoenix versus Layla. There you go. And I'm like, fine, whatever. I'm just waiting for Karma to come back. So, yeah. But the other 3 matches, I have some stuff to talk about, and let's start with the world title situation. I am just so happy that the WWE realized that the Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio feud was so interesting and was just so compelling and such a great program to have over what's supposed to be a main event championship that they decided to add Chris Jericho and Randy Orton to the mix. As the reason they did that is because they knew that nobody gave a crap, and nobody was going to give a crap about Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio. For me personally, it's a babyface champion that I don't care about versus a heel that I've never cared about, no matter what they've done with him, because he's just a Mexican JBL. I think I've made the comment before that it's like watching Tito Santana try to play JBL, and that's your character. And not a bad work. They're not bad workers. I'm not saying that. It's just their characters are very weak sauce, to say the least. And in knowing that nobody was going to give a crap about that match, they just threw Orton and Jericho in there just for kicks, basically, and all over a championship that I am completely apathetic towards, being the World Heavyweight title. Randy Orton, he gets a title shot just because he gave Sheamus the RKO after a match. And that's all it takes to get a world title shot, apparently. Oh, if you all have a fight backstage, you know what? Match is made, baby. And that's all it takes. You got to have a backstage brawl, and I'll make a match. And that's the way the world works. But what do you want me to say about this? I mean, there's not. Who cares? Really, who cares? Will the match be bad? Probably not. But it's just mid-card filler, really, at this point. And that's all the world title is at this point. And I'll talk when I get into the WWE title match. I'll talk about what I would have done with the world title. But moving right along, we've got John Cena versus Evil Boss, number 18, 19. I don't know. I lost count. It doesn't matter if it's Johnny Ace. It doesn't matter if it's Vicky Guerrero, Michael Cole, the fucking computer, Mike Adamle, Eric Bischoff, Vince McMahon. I just do not care about the Evil Boss thing anymore. And it worked in 98 with McMahon because it was new, it was fresh, we'd never seen it before, and the Vince McMahon character actually had a purpose, a motivation, and a desire to do what he did. He wanted to eliminate a damaging element to his company's image, which was Stone Cold Steve Austin, while Stone Cold Steve Austin, on the other hand, was fighting for freedom of expression, things of that nature. So, the motivations for that rivalry were mapped out very well for the two characters. Why are Cena and Johnny Ace feuding? Why does Ace even hate Cena? I don't even understand that. It's like, yeah, he beat Brock Lesnar, but why did he want Lesnar to replace him in the first place? It's like, look, Cena is Mr. Company Guy who does everything the company tells him to do, so why does the boss hate him? I don't understand. It's real. Why did Johnny Ace say, it's like, you know what, I'm not going to push Zack Ryder. I'm not going to do it. The fans are screaming for it. I'm not going to push him. He's not going to get the U.S. title. Not going to happen. And the only reasoning behind why Johnny Ace would do that is because he's the heel and he has to go against what the people want. And the only reason John Cena hates Johnny Ace is because he's the heel, the people hate him, and I have to go along with what the people say. So, yay, I hate him too. And that's the whole basis for all of these storylines involving an evil boss. It's not just Cena and Johnny Ace. Every time they do this, it's the same thing. And this concept that started great with Austin McMahon back in 97, 98 has just been watered down so much until it's just a bare bones basic formula thing. So yeah, I really don't give a shit about this match. I love that Cena's post-match speech at Extreme Rules amounted to, hey, I'm going to be going away for a while, meaning I'm going to be on TV every week anyway, so the speech was meaningless. But, yeah, I don't care. You're probably going to see a bunch of run-ins. You'll probably see Big Show run in. You'll probably see Fat Albert run in, which it makes me so sad to see what Albert's turned into. I used to really like him, and now he's like this fat guy that is poorly imitating the Great Muta. It makes me sad. But, yeah, you'll probably see Lord Tensai get involved, and it'll be an overbooked Vince McMahon match that you've probably seen 100 times, and that's it. That's all there is to it. The bad guy's going to get beat up, and that's it. And, it would be cool if this were 98 and I hadn't seen it 100 times, but it's amazing that this is still an idea that they're running with. And moving right along to the true main event of the show, which is CM Punk defending the WWE title against Daniel Bryan. Now, what I said earlier about Bobby Roode and Rob Van Dam kind of rings true here because they did a very poor job of building this matchup as well. They had Bryan lose 2 straight pay-per-view matches, and then he wins 1 match on TV over a 60-year-old announcer in under 4 minutes, and that's enough to make him number 1 contender for the title. And it's just like, wow, really? Okay. So yeah, and they've done almost nothing to build this feud up. I mean, I haven't heard any promos or anything. All they've done really is 1 post-match beatdown by Bryan, and it's like, well, they do that every feud. I mean, that's not special or anything. Again, you could probably switch Daniel Bryan out of this feud and put anybody else in there, and it would be exactly the same because they really aren't doing anything to build it up. And that's sad because this is a match that people actually want to see. If you look on the internet, this is going to be a great match. It's going to be CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. It will be a great match. But again, I just wish they'd set it up better and make it a little bit more meaningful from a story perspective because, the Daniel Bryan character's really gotten over and has really generated a lot of interest. And Punk is the longest reigning champion in the company right now, I think. Yeah, he would pretty much have to be. So you could have gotten something out of building that up. And actually, if you go back to my WrestleMania preview, my idea was to have Daniel Bryan retain at Mania and then hold on to the belt until you want to do a unification match between Punk and Daniel Bryan. But they'll never unify the titles. I've given up hope that they're going to do that. And I think that, doing a unification match between the two would have been a great way to sell this match and to make it seem like more of an event and not just a throwaway B pay-per-view main event that they're doing. It's just, yeah, again, it's going to be a great match. It's CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. So if you're buying this pay-per-view just to see that match, you're going to get a hell of a match. I guarantee that. I just wish that they'd put a little bit more effort into setting it up. And, the 3-week build-up to a pay-per-view doesn't help things either. But it is what it is, and that's kind of where we're at with both pay-per-views. Again, I think some of the matches could be really good. I think Punk and Daniel Bryan's going to be really good. I think RVD and Rude, especially since it's a ladder match, they could have a good match. I think AJ and Angle can have a good match. And there are a couple others as well, but it's just overall, there's just no real great story going on. And actually, the best story going on right now is actually Triple H and Brock Lesnar, that whole thing. And they're not doing it at this pay-per-view, which is fine. You can give things time to grow and develop. That's fine. It's just that there's nothing else going on in the meantime that's really all that interesting. But yeah, that's all we got for May 2012 as far as pay-per-views go. And I will be back next week. Probably, I'm probably not going to see Sacrifice, and I don't know if I'm going to see Over the Limit either. So I don't know what my video is going to be about next week. But I'm sure I can come up with something. But until then, I'll see you all later. Peace.